Hello everyone, welcome to SharePoint Power Hour. What is SharePoint Power Hour? It is a weekly show that we do every Wednesday at 11 Central, and I'm Laura Rogers. In Power Hour we talk about things in SharePoint and Office 365 that you can do without a bunch of custom programming or a bunch of hardcore server admin stuff. It's all a whole bunch of topics that are anything but those. And so we have, this is our, I think our 90th or 91st episode. We're getting close to 100. It's very exciting. Today's topic, we're going about, I'll give you a little just sort of information about us and a little information about kind of watching Power Hour and how you can ask us questions and things like that. So again, I'm Laura Rogers with Rackspace Hosting. When you're looking at Power Hour, you might be looking at it on YouTube or on the Google Hangout. If you're watching it on YouTube, it will have a link over to the Google Hangout, and that's where we have a Q&A panel. So once you go over to the Google Hangout and you get to, you're watching us in there, there is a little button towards the top right that's got some little squares, and so by default, the app that it shows down the right side of the right pane when you're looking at it is it's called the Showcase app, and it's just got links whenever we share links. But the other one, you have to click the little button with the squares on it. It lets you flip over to the Q&A app, and that's where you can ask us questions live as we go. So feel free to go to the Q&A and say hi. 7 viewers are watching us live right now. So feel free to go say hi over there, and we love doing this live because we can sort of on the fly a lot of the times. We can ask questions as we go, and it's very informal. And for example, it's very informal because I didn't create any kind of PowerPoint today. I'm just going to wing it. Just going to talk for an hour about site and list templates. And before I do that, though, let's introduce everybody. So let's see, Kevin, and then Ryan, then Stephen, and then Tavis. I'll let y'all go in that order.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Hughes. I'm SharePoint architect here on Laura's team, based out of Kansas City, and my role on the team is to work with our clients to figure out exactly what they need. If SharePoint can fix their problems, then I figure out how, and work with the rest of our team to get it implemented for them.
Hi everybody, I'm Ryan Keller. I am based out of Northern Colorado. My role on the team is the branding guy. So I make SharePoint look pretty, make it look the way that our clients want, anywhere from simple themes to full-on custom branding. Been doing that for about 4 years now, branding exclusively. Been working with SharePoint for, coming up on, let's see, about 7 or 8 years now, I think it's been. So, been a little while.
Hi, I'm Stephen Wilson. I am the migration infrastructure person here on the SharePoint services team. By the way, Jeremy, in the Q&A section, yes, you're in, so we can see your question. Can't hear you, Laura.
We can't type responses in there, Jeremy, so we always just have to respond verbally, but yes, we see your comment.
I do a lot of our migrations. I do our installations for our services customers. They are not hosted here at Rackspace. And I do kind of a spool up when people first get SharePoint, just to kind of get them some of the basics of what they need to do next in SharePoint, instead of just sitting there staring at their new shiny box with no idea what to do with it.
And my name is Tavis Lovell. I'm the business intelligence developer on the team, so I deal with all things reporting, things like dashboarding and performance point, or reporting services, or Excel services, or all those cool tools. And I also teach our monthly reporting services class. And I think that's about all I have to say about myself.
Reporting guru, yes, we have, SharePoint.rackspace.com/training is where Tavis's classes and a couple of others that a couple of us teach. All right, so let me see. I'm going to go ahead and so I'll just talk a little bit about what the topic is, and then I'll go ahead and share my screen. And it's usually just a bunch of demos and just me making it up as I go along. Well, usually like when other people in this room do it, especially Tavis, they make it formal, and Tavis spends a lot of time putting a PowerPoint together and makes it very polished and pretty. But hardly ever do that. Okay, so we're going to talk about site and list templates. I think we've had people ask us to do this. We've had several requests for this as a topic. So in SharePoint and Office 365, there are ways that you can save a list or library as a template and use it other places. There are also ways that you can save a site, an entire site as a template, and be able to create new sites from that template. So I'm going to talk about all the different ways you can do that and some best practices along the way. And again, just let me know in the little Q&A if you have questions as I'm going. Let's see. First of all, I'd like to get some feedback from you guys in the Q&A as to different types of lists and libraries and sites and things that you would like to be able to save as a template or have saved as a template before. Just get the ideas flowing and maybe give me some ideas for my demo that I'm going to make up as I go. Okay, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's see, screen 1. Okay, can you all see my, this is my little test site. Okay, this is my virtual machine. This Contoso home with the green, this is my just my virtual machine on my computer, and then I have another tab up here where I have my Office 365 site. So all the things that I'm going to demo, I'll go ahead and do it in both places. Oh, can y'all mute yourselves, please? And Michael's already asking, can you customize the way the list looks with HTML? No, not really. There's this new thing that you can do that's called JS Link, that is client-side rendering. That would be the answer to that. Has nothing to do with really was a template. I mean, I guess it could be in a template, but it's a web part setting. So you'd have to write some custom JavaScript, and with JavaScript in combination with HTML maybe, and you'd have to reference that from the web part setting. So I actually wrote a whole blog post about that. If any of you has a second, maybe you could put that in a little showcase, but that's not going to be usually as much what people do with a template. So what we usually do with templates, oh thanks Anne for the feedback, is template is going to include columns and views and maybe content sometimes, and it's going to be a situation where you have, one site will create a template, and then a lot of the times another department in your company will say, hey, I like that list that you created. Can I have a copy of that, or can I use that on my site? Or just sometimes it's just done as a quick way. Saving something as a template is done as a quick way of just moving it somewhere else. It's just that's another way that you can move something, but and we'll go through some of this. When you save something as a template, you can save it with or without the content. So I'm going to go ahead and say I've got this list of policies here, and it is a library. Let me go ahead and show you that. So think about this example of just company policies. So you might have company policies. We have some metadata involved, like what's the policy name, who's the policy owner, and just what department is associated with, and things like that. And you have that all, and maybe somebody over in one of the subsites or just in some department in your company creates one, and it's just for their department. So other departments come up to them and say, hey, we need to put our policies in a library. So I'm going to talk about how to do this one little library as a template, and then I'm going to talk about how you can do it in a better way. So let's just do just the super simple, just saving something as a template and what goes with it, and then what it looks like when you create something from the template. All right, so it looks like in this library I've got, I've got some custom metadata. I've got, let's look at some of the settings too. I've got content approval turned on. I've got enterprise keywords turned on. I've even got multiple content types in my library. So I'll go to the library settings here, and it's just a quick button that says Save Document Library as Template. All right, I'm going to call it Policies Test 1. and then policy library. This is the library to put your policies in. Okay, and here's where you can choose whether or not you want to include content. Do you want all the files that are already in that library to be included when someone uses this template? So that's important. So in this case, I'm not going to, but there is a limit. It's 10 meg by default, right? I've taken a 10 megabyte limit. So if you've got too much stuff in your library, it will not let you include content. What I've seen happen before in the past, which is kind of a gotcha, you got to watch out for end users doing this, was that someone had created a very custom issue list, or like a tracking log, and they had a lot of private information that was just for their department in that list already, stuff about customers, etc., and issues that were going on with the customers. They saved the list as a template because another department wanted to have a similar list, but they clicked include content. So then when other departments in the company, anywhere in that whole site collection, created a list from the template, it had all their stuff in it already. So they were kind of freaking out. They were like, how are they accessing our data? We don't understand. We thought they didn't have access to our site. We looked at permissions. And then I had to explain to them that it was already in the template when the people had created the list. So you got to watch out for that, because it will be in there when anyone else creates one from it. So I'm not going to check that box. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. While I'm waiting for that, Anne says I've created cool versions of a link list with other metadata. Oh, that sounds like fun. Okay. And Joni says I do run the issue that site owners cannot save the list as a template themselves. You, as the administrator, you have to do it for them. And are you missing a setting somewhere to let them save it? Let's go. We'll go look into that too, into permissions.
Actually,
Steven,
I have an answer to that.
Oh, good. Thanks, Kevin.
Basically, a template is saved into the solution gallery of the site collection. So in order for that operation to work, you have to be a site collection administrator.
Okay, there's your answer. You have to be a site collection administrator to be able to save something as a template, because it puts it at the top level of the site collection. So then anywhere else in that whole site collection, any other sites in the site collection will be able to use that template. Cool. Yeah, that's your answer, unfortunately, Joni, is that, and you don't want to add more site collection administrators. It's usually you're going to only want 1 or 2 people to have that role. You might just have to do it for them. And then she says she saved customized project libraries a lot, surveys, mostly lists and surveys that a lot of upfront work goes into the customization, can be used elsewhere. Yeah, great ideas. Awesome. And then Ann says we had to create one for each county in Arkansas. You had to create a template for each county? Interesting. Or maybe you had to create a template and use it for each county? And then Stacy says, is there a way to tell if a user in another department created a list from a template, and if so, which template they used? Ooh, that is a great question.
That can be done with PowerShell.
Oh, okay.
There are PowerShell commands, commandlets you can run that will loop through all the sites in a site collection, or all the site collections and sites in a web app, depending on how you scope it and what your permissions are. That will, you can have it display all, or send to a file, all the templates that were used for sites and lists, but it's kind of tricky to get it to show like a web part on a page. But if they used it to create just a list or a document library, then that can be pulled back without a ton of creativity.
Oh, okay. There isn't just anywhere just in the user interface that you can
Nope.
do that? Okay. All right, good to know. Okay, so let's see. So it created it successfully. So before I go to the list template gallery, I'm just going to click OK, which is what most people do, without necessarily paying attention to where it put it. So now I can go just out of the box. I can go to any other site in my site collection. So I'll go to this sub-site and I'll see if I have a, I don't think I have a policies library. Nope, I don't have anything about policies in this, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what the end user interface looks like then. So I'll go ahead and say add an app, and then it's going to, I could type the name to go find it here, or it's going to be listed usually towards the very bottom of the list. So here's policy library. When I click app details, that's when it's going to show me the description that I put when I created the template. And if you see, when you click add an app in your environment, if you see a ton of just garbage in there that doesn't look like it's out of the box lists and libraries, it means that you've created a whole bunch of templates. So have y'all seen this get cluttered up before? I have. Let's see, I'll call it ops policies. So now I'm creating a library from the template over on this operations site, and we're going to go see what goes along with it. So it's just going to take a second. Let's see. Okay, so now we've got, all right, now we can see operations policies, so let's go take a look at that. Okay, so now it's empty because I did not check the box to save the content. But look what I do have. I do have, it looks like the approval status did go with it, so content approval was turned on. I can just tell by some of these default fields that go with content approval. I have all my Contoso department, policy name, a lot of these, all the custom columns that I created are in here, and all my views are in here as well, like this one I had called test ratings. So let's go take a look at my settings in here. So I'll go to library settings. Permissions are not going to go with it when you save a template. Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. There are a lot of settings that will go with it, but permissions is not going to be one of them. Okay, so we got under versioning settings, content approval. Yes, that's turned on. Look, versioning is turned on. That's really nice to know. So that's turned on, and even all the specific settings I had in here. I'm trying to do too many things at once. And then we've got, what else was in there? Enterprise metadata and keywords. I had checked these boxes, so those are turned on. And I had ratings. Ooh, so I think I had ratings turned on the other one, and maybe the ratings didn't go across with it. Let's go double check that. I'm going to open it. I'm going to duplicate my tab and go back to the original one and double check that. Okay, policies, and I've got a test ratings column or view that I created, and I've got ratings showing here. And so the ratings setting is, yes, so the rating setting did not go with it. That's interesting, right? Okay. But a lot of just, not necessarily, this has nothing to do with branding usually, it's just the columns and the views and some of the settings. All right, so now, I've created a list from the template, so let's go look at where the template got created. So I go not to site settings in the sub-site, but I have to go to the very top level of my site collection. All right, and then there is where I'm going to have Web Designer Galleries, and that is where I'm going to have my list templates. That is where I can always look. You might have a very long list here, and if you've created a whole bunch of them, and a lot of the times, I don't know if you guys agree, if you've seen this happen, people will create one and just use it once, and they just needed to use it once, but they just didn't go delete the template out of here. Let's see. Renee says, if you customize the list with info path and or workflows, does saving the list as a template bring over those customization? Yes, with the info path form, but no, not workflows, because, well, unless you have put your workflow on a content type and you're using a content type in that list, then it could potentially go with it. But a workflow, a lot of the times, is just connected to that list in that site. So no, workflow is not going to go with it. Okay, so Ann says she clarified we use the template to create a list for each county office. Nice. All right, so then what you can do with this template is, you notice when I hover over it, it's an STP file. So actually, I can take this template and use it in a whole other site collection if I want to. So I'm going to go over to this browser and go to my go to another site collection. I actually just created this. So I just created this site collection called Team Test, and it is just a team, created it from the team site template. So what I want to do is take this and put it over there. So I save this as a file, save target as, and I can just save this off to my desktop, and I'll just call it policies test, and it saves that STP file. So now I can go over to this team site. This is weird team site, by the way, because usually team sites have stuff on them. Just saying. Oh, there it goes. That's weird. It just hadn't loaded all the other stuff. Maybe it wasn't finished being created. Okay. All right. So now I'm on. This is just a top level of site collection. Go to site settings on this other site collection, and then go to list templates here. And of course, this is brand new, so I don't have any yet. But again, this is just a library, so I can go upload my file just like I'm uploading a document to any other library. I can go upload my policy test STP file. Now, if you try to put it in some other farm where you might have variations in the version of SharePoint you're using or anything like that, that's not going to work, right, guys? So, let's see. So now I've put it in a whole other site collection, and now I can go click Add an App over here, and it will give me my policy library. So, see, team. All right, so that's how you take a library, list or library. What I just did applies to lists or libraries. I took it and I just took a copy of it and put it in another place. Now, what happens now? I think sometimes people are afraid to clean out this list, maybe because they think it's going to get rid of the stuff they've created from the template, but that is not necessarily, that's not the case. So I can go delete policy test, and I can go, my homepage, of course, the original one is still there. I can go over to services, which is where I created, no, operations is where I created the other one. And I can see that operations policies is perfectly fine and it's intact. So if you have one in you got it in one place and you want to make a copy of it somewhere else, you can go delete the template. It's not going to get rid of whatever you created from the template. Okay, so now let's talk about a better way to do, because when you do a template, you don't ever have like a central location where you can make an update to the template. It's just you're just putting copies of it everywhere. So you don't have any way to centrally manage that information. But if you use content types, then you can manage that centrally. So what I'm going to do is, in this case, let's go look. See, most libraries just out of the box, they use just that generic documents content type. But if you create a content type and you have all the columns and information like that and required fields and things in the content type, then you can make the changes in one central location. So let's go look. So this is actually the copy that I made of my library using that template, and the template doesn't even exist anymore. But look at this. So in my library, I had created, and we've done a couple of other power hours about content types and what they are and how to create them and everything, so I didn't want to go too much into the nitty-gritty of that. But I created a content type, so I went to Site Settings, Top Level Settings, Site Content Types, and I clicked Create, and I created this content type called Contoso Policy here. And in the content type, I added one extra site column here, and I called it Department. And also in the content type, I put a special template of what I want my company policies to look like. So everywhere that I use this content type, this department field is going to follow it. Any other settings that I put in here, a lot of other settings you can do, will follow it as well. And the template will go with it. So this is at the root level of my site collection. So now let's go over to operations, and we'll go down to my my little copy of my library over here. And so I notice that since I made a template of the library, and the library happened to have a content type, custom content type of mine in it, the content type went with the library. So instead of just using just the generic document content type that that all libraries have, and you don't want to like really mess with that in a central location because that would affect everything in your whole site collection. I created my custom one so that instead of just having a copy of a template that's floating all around everywhere, I can make changes in a central location. So watch this. Let's go. I'll go to my root level of my site collection again. Hopefully you guys understand the concept of having the content type in there without me having to kind of like do a whole other one from scratch with a content type. So let's go to the root level of my site collection and go to my content types, and I'm going to add something. So Contoso policy, I'm going to add a new site column to it. Let's see if I've got an existing one that I can use in here that I can just throw in here. Let's see. I think I've created some around policies before. Key for the keys. Policy owner. There we go. It's a people field. So I'm going to add policy owner to my content type in one place. All right, so now that exists on my Contoso policy. So now I'm going to go down to my, this is going to be the library that I created from the template. And so this is going to exist in both libraries now. I go to library settings, and I can see that policy owner is in there, and it comes from Contoso policy. Okay, so this just appeared here. So now everywhere that I'm using this content type, whether I'm using it in a template or not, any library where I'm using that content type, I'm managing it in one central place, and it's going to get things that I push down from that central place, like adding a column or changing the value of, default value of a column, or whether it's required and things like that. So that's, you all like that? Is that a great place to be able to manage those templates from one central location? So now I have policy owner. It's not going to put policy owner in the default view. So a lot of times people think it didn't work when they go add it to the site, to the content type, and then they don't see it in the library. It's just because it's not in the view. It's just not a column in the default view. The column exists in the library though. So I can go down here and go to policy owner and break something. And I'm not going to mess with why that's not working, but just add policy owner to a view in my library. Okay, so that's how you can create a list template and manage it centrally. Okay, now I'm going to go into the concept of a, let me know if you have any more questions about just a list or library template, and I'm going to go ahead and start, since this is already the second half, I'm going to go ahead and start going into the site template concept. Okay, so first of all, we actually created in this, in another Power Hour, the concept. I did a demo of the concept of a project site and a roll up versus a roll down. So I actually already have some subsites created in Contoso Home having to do with project sites, and so that's where I'm going to use this example. I'm going to use it having to do with a project site. And I also need to do this example in Office 365 and point out any kind of differences as well. Okay, so here's my project roll-up. Let's see, project roll-up is going to be a good one to use, yeah. So in my project roll-up, I have a site that has just this project roll-up is just a top-level site. And then I have subsites for each project. So I made like schools are the subsites. And says we had a SharePoint admin who edited the title field in the main list content type, and it went all throughout the whole site collection. Yeah, don't do that. Don't ever edit those out of the box content types or columns like that, especially title. Title is in every single list and library and everywhere in SharePoint. That sounds like a mess. Have you guys in the room, have you guys seen that happen before? Probably, at least once. You can just nod.
It's bad.
It is bad, yeah.
It is very bad.
Yes.
And you sort it out, and you think it's all working. Someday you're going to upgrade and you're going to be bad again.
Oh, really? Even when you think you fixed it? That's not good. All right. Okay. All right, so the concept I'm going to talk about now is like creating a project subsite as a template. And then you want, when people go to this project sort of top level site that has maybe some roll-up information, can one of you guys find the link to that other Power Hour that had like the project roll-ups and see if you can put that in the little showcase thing? Anyway, the concept is going to be that once they go to this site, every time the end users create a subsite, you want to force them to use that template you created. So right now, when I go to Site Contents and I click New Subsite, see it's got anything available. I can create any kind of subsite that I want to, just at all. But I'm going to want to limit that. So let's go look at some content types. Let's see. Site content types in here. Ooh, this is a great example of creating a good reason to create a content type. So I'm going to create a content type that's got that's going to be specific to every project. So I'm going to call it project details. I'll just call it like project info. I might have already used project details. And basic about a project. And then I'm going to say I want this to be just like a custom list. So I'm using the list content types and just using item. That's the absolute most generic content type you can use. It's just like using a custom list. And I'm going to create a little grouping called a project. I like to start it with an A just because it'll put it on the top. I don't have to go looking for it. Now I'll create a content type called a project, and I'm going to go see if I probably don't have any existing site columns. I'll just do a new one. Project start. I'm just going to do a couple of these because you'll get the idea, basically. Make this a date and time. And then put that in a custom group in my site columns as well. Okay, so now I have a content type called project info with a project start date. I'm going to use for the title is what I'm going to do project name. So I'm not going to put project name in here, but I'm going to say project manager. And make that a person. And I can even make it so I'll put it in my little custom group I just created called a project. I'm going to make it so that they have to pick from my group of project managers to be able to pick who the project manager is. They can't just pick from anybody in SharePoint. Oh, I've already got a column name. Oh, I've already got a column name called project manager. Well, that's fine. I'll just use that then. Fine. I'll do add from existing site column. And every time I do existing site columns, for some reason in my VM, it's a little slow. So, all right, look for project manager. So since you can't have two different site columns with the same name, I'm just going to use one that I created that was for some other purpose. And, ooh, I'm going to put project stage in here. It looks like I put some other, project stuff as site columns before. I'll even do project category. So I'm adding all these as site columns. That was nice and quick. To my project info content type. Okay, so now I'm going to go to one of my project subsites. So let's go back up to where we were on my top level of my project roll-up. I'm going to go to a subsite, and I want to create one of these. I'm going to create a subsite to use as a template. So I'm actually going to go just, instead of using these existing ones, I'm not sure what I did in there. That was a while back. I'm going to go create a new subsite. So go to Site Contents and create a new subsite. What school should I put in here? Let's see. Did I put Alabama? Ugh, I hate Alabama. Texas A&M. We have a lot of Texas A&M fans at Rackspace, by the way. I don't know if will let me put an ampersand. It's not going to let me put an ampersand in the URL, I don't think. I'll have to do it like that. All right, so I can use project site. This is just the generic Microsoft SharePoint project site template that already exists, so I'll just use that. Sure, I'll use the top link bar. Okay, and click Create. And this is going to be the site that I want to use as a template. All right, I should have just called it project template. Duh. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, now I'm going to go create that project details. So in this one I'm just going to create the project details list, but you're going to have multiple different lists and libraries that you might want to have with custom content types and stuff in all of your project sites. Like we have a bunch of project sites for customer projects we work on, right? So I'll call this project info. Creating a list, just a blank list in here, and project info, and then this is where I have to go put that content type in it that I created. So I have to go to advanced settings, allow management of content type. This is real like content type basics. You didn't know you were going to learn about content types in learning about templates, did you? Okay, add from existing site content types, and I have my little project group where I created my project info content type. And now I have my project info list in my project site. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to customize all the web parts, all the lists and things, all the, my libraries with views and things like that I want to have, and get it looking the way that I want it to look for every project. So let's go, I'm going to go fill out a new item real quick. Oops, I didn't get rid of the other content type. Hold on. I added the project info content type, but didn't get rid of just the generic item content type yet, so I'll do that. And also, I'm going to change title to project title. I'm just doing it in the list, though. I'm not doing it at the content type level. I'm not changing like the title site column. Okay, now I've got project info. Okay, I'm going to add one item to the list. So theoretically, every project will just have one list item because it will just be one site for each project. So project start date, okay, project manager, put me, stage, sure, project description, stuff about the project. And then a category, it looks like I even have this as manage metadata. So that's going to be what category my project is in. Alright, now on my home page, and again this is just an example of one web part that I'm going to do, but you can of course you might have a whole bunch that you might want to customize in here as far as what the project site is going to look like, or whatever the template is that you're doing is going to look like. So for this one, I just want to show, I'm going to edit this view pretty extensively. So I really just want to show one thing in here. So first of all, no toolbar. I don't need to have all that stuff. And I'm going to go edit the current view. And I'm going to put, let's see, project title. I don't need to link them to the menu. They don't need to do that necessarily. Maybe I can just put project title just so they can click on it and find more information if they want, with just link to the item, and then project title, and then some of my project information. There. Oh, and then one more thing. In this web part, I only need it to show just a single item. So I'm going to go to the settings and go to item limit, and I'm just going to say just show one item. And I can even, we'll also see what it looks like now. I can even make it a little bit more fancy by using like a different style on it. When I use any style, this is just a little sort of bug in SharePoint 2013 Office 365. When I use any style other than the default style, I'm going to lose some things. So I don't like to use any other styles just in regular lists and library views. But since this is a web part view, I'll show you kind of what what it could look like. So that's kind of pretty, right? It's supposed to have my picture here, but it's got just information about the project, and it goes kind of down the page. It still looks a little wonky, so, but I'm just going to leave that alone. All right, now I'm going to have project info. I might want to rename this out-of-the-box document library and call it project documents. I might want to fine-tune everything that's in the navigation, etc., and then save it as a template. Okay, so now I'll go save this as a template. Go to Site Settings, Save Site as Template. Let's see if I can break something. Let's see. So project. And then if I have, okay, so one thing you might do, like especially for a project, is you might have like a list of tasks where you might enter in all the tasks ahead of time that would be centered around the project and have them in the task list already. So not have the project info, not have anything in there, not have anything in the project documents, but have project tasks already filled out. So that's one thing you could do, is you could fill out a list or library that does need to have information that you'll need for every project, and even if it's documents, if it's like all the just project documents that you might need to have exist, you could do that and include content. I'm not going to include the content on this one. And go. And don't let me forget to go do all this in Office 365 after I show you. Okay, so now it created the site template. It didn't put it in the list gallery like it did for that other one. It put it in the solution gallery. So I'm going to go straight to the solution gallery. So how do I get to that later if I want to? That is going to be at the top level of your site collection, and under Web Designer Gallery it's called Solutions. So now Contoso Project is a solution, and it already activated it for me. So a site template, it's putting it in here as a .wsp file, and just like the list template, I can take this and save the target and save target as and save it down to my hard drive and go put it in a different site collection if I really need to. But if you have a template like that you want to be available globally among all your site collections, that's going to be something that you can do as a command line, right? Stephen and Kevin, you can put that in like so that it's in always in the templates list when people are creating subsites everywhere. In PowerShell, yes. You can do that. Yes. So that's a PowerShell thing.
If you want a site template, I mean, you're creating a site template. That'll be available only in at the site collection scope. If you need it to be available to multiple site collections or multiple web applications, then that is a custom solution done in Visual Studio.
Okay, so this WSP file, now I used to, when I've done this back in SharePoint 2007, I just saved it as a template, had whatever the file was that it spit out for me. It wasn't a WSP back then, I don't think. And then I was able to take that and do an STS-ADM command line and point to that template file, and then that put it in the whole farm as an available template. So you can't do that anymore without Visual Studio.
No, and that was your scenario was still the case in 2010.
Okay.
In 2013, they changed the how the template is saved, and it is saved as a scoped WSP. So it is scoped at the site collection level or site level. And so basically in Visual Studio, what you do is you change the scope of that inside the code, and then you can, when you build that and deploy that solution, it can then be uploaded with PowerShell or through the UI and central admin to be usable throughout the farm.
Oh, okay, good to know.
There's no real easy, no-touch way to do it though. Like you have to manipulate something.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to do a power out on it, but I think the only people that would understand it would be those that are really interested in learning a little bit more about Visual Studio.
All right. So the answer is what I just did is only going to be in this one site collection unless I go way, go crazy and get a developer, get Visual Studio involved and all that stuff. So in this site collection now I can go to any, like if I go to operations projects here, I can go site contents, I can go create a new subsite anywhere, and it's going to be under custom here, and this is the one that I just called Contoso project. So obviously I've done other examples of this before. This is the one that I just created, Contoso project. So then I can go, then I'll be able to go test project, and I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So project 1, Kevin says, do you know of any options for saving a site as a template if the publishing feature has been enabled? I knew you were going to ask that. I was about to address that. No. Unfortunately.
Well, that's not necessarily so. The actual capability of saving a publishing site as a template still exists in a custom URL to get to this exact same page for the save template. It's just removed from the site settings when you turn on the publishing infrastructure feature. The unfortunate thing there is that site, even if you do that, is not deployable without taking it into Visual Studio and correcting all the things in the publishing code that limit it to only being able to be used that one time. It is a complete and total pain and not worth your time.
Okay. So
however, if you need publishing features, but like if you're saving something, a site as a template, likely you're saving the common elements for pages and libraries and web parts on pages that are common between departments or geographically regions or offices or whatever. And what you can do to save yourself some time is go ahead and create this template without publishing features enabled. Save that as a template. If you need to rescope it, you can, but then you deploy it instead of through the UI. You deploy it with PowerShell, and there's a PowerShell command that you can add to your script that will enable publishing features automatically, so you don't have to remember to do that. And you can either then go in and add the publishing web parts that you want when necessary, or even use the PowerShell to deploy predefined publishing web parts that you have saved as templates.
Nice. Wow. Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. All right, so I was just about to delve into the whole publishing features thing, because that's where it gets a little tricky. So what I want to point out is at the top level of this site collection, where I have been saving all these things as templates this whole time, I do have the site collection feature enabled called SharePoint Server Publishing Infrastructure. The site collection feature is enabled. The site feature on my publishing template that I create, my project template that I created, was not enabled. So that's what allowed me to do it. So there's site collection feature, and then there's the site feature. So the site feature is going to be the one for your subsites, other than your root level of your site collection, that is going to prevent it from being a subsite from being able to save as a template. So what I can do, let's go ahead and go back to my project roll-up that I've been on. So this is the one where I want to, now that I've created that template, I want to restrict people on this site to only be able to use that template. Now the setting that I want to use to do that is only going to be available when I enable the publishing features. Okay, so now I'm not on the root level, I'm on a subsite, so I have to go manage site features, and I'm going to SharePoint Server Publishing, and now I'm activating the publishing feature at the site level, at the site where when I want people to create subsites, I want them to have to pick a specific template. That make sense? Okay. We did put in the Showcase app, we put the link to the other Power Hour I did with the project roll-up stuff. Okay, so now the feature's enabled, so now let's go see what I was talking about. Now I can do, see under look and feel, now look at that. Notice I don't have save site as template anymore, but I do have page layouts and site templates right here. So this is what I can use to control what people can create as a subsite of this site. So instead of subsites inherit site templates from parent site, I'm not going to do subsites can use any site template. I'm going to say subsites can only use the following site templates. And then you have to go add and remove. So I'll just go remove basically everything except for my little custom project site. And that's the, or Contoso project is the one I just, yeah. Contoso project is the one I just created today in this demo. And then I can do whether pages inherit preferred layouts from if I have custom layouts and stuff like that. That's where I would set those up, right? Ryan, that's probably something Ryan deals with a lot. If you want to control what layouts people can use.
It is, yeah. It's pretty common for custom branding scenarios to limit layouts to only the ones that you know are customized or have been approved. Other times we just leave them all there and let everyone use whatever.
Yeah. So I'm going to click OK. So now that I limited it to only being able to pick from that site template, so now when I'm on this project roll-up sites and I go say, let's go to site contents and go new subsite, look at that. Contoso project is the only thing I can pick from. Pretty cool. But then that site where I enabled the site feature, the publishing feature at the site level, now I wouldn't be able to take that top level site and save it as a template. That's not the one that I saved as a template in the first place, right? It was that Texas A&M one that I saved as a template. So let's see, another, I'll just do like, what's another college? I can't think of any colleges, so Florida. There. So now it's the only template I can pick from. So then maybe when you do that, you'll be able to be more free with your permissions of people that can create subsites. Because now on this project site, when you allow people to create subsites, they're very limited in what can be, you know, what kind of subsite they created. And yes, there is still a content type hub in 2013. So that's where you'd have your content types managed from one big central location. All right, let's go look at Office 365 and go look at, I'll create a little list in here. So another just sort of common list that I see people like to use as a template is like a timesheet. So I'll do add an app and do a custom list and call it a timesheet. All right, and where's my timesheet? There it is. And just for expediency's sake, I'm just going to create a couple of columns in it. Oh, stop, please. Leave me alone. Okay. Date. It's not date and time. Sure, I'll let them do date and time. That's fine. Default to today's date for their timesheet entry. And I'm going to say create column. Project A, oh wait, project name, and then this would probably in the real world, this will be a lookup list to another SharePoint list of projects, right? Okay, and no default value. All right, so for time's sake, I went ahead and just said title, date, and project. Oh my goodness, stop it. And I'm going to save this as a template. I had heard a rumor that in Office 365 they were taking away the ability to save a list as a template, but if they were, they haven't yet. One other thing that I like to do with a lot of the times, this is just another, just like a little just extra tip, sort of related to content types. For this, especially for a timesheet, have you seen people do this? Well, they'll create a list like this, and for a timesheet specifically, you don't need a title column, and they'll like change the name of it to ignore this or something, or they'll make everybody put like an X in it or something like that. Well, you can, if you don't need to have a single line of text field in your list, you can hide that. So I'm going to show just real quick the tidbit on how to do that. All I need to do is go turn on Allow Management of Content Types. I'm not creating a custom content type or anything like that, but when I allow management of content types, that gives me this little content types section in here where I can go to that item, and now title here, you can see it's required by default. I can go change it to hidden. So now timesheet, new item, title. I could still go remove title from my default view as well. See, it's got no title. Okay, so go to list settings, save list as a template, call it timesheet, and okay, same thing, list template gallery. And I don't think that there's anything different. And again, I had heard a rumor that they were getting rid of the ability to save lists as templates, but if they were, they haven't yet. I don't think there's any difference in sites. Are there any that any of you know of? I don't think there are. Yeah.
Now, the only thing about sites is you get 25 megs on a site template. Oh. So if you're going to include content, you'll get anything if it's over 25 megs of content, then you'll have to figure something out to do that, to make that work.
Nice. So one last thing that I want to point out in here is that now when I go to my in my little project sites, when I go to site settings, and I go to site content types, and I'll go look at this. I'll go to my project roll-up top site, and I go to project info. I can still go add more columns or change my column settings from this central place, and it will get pushed out to all of those sites that were using that content type in the site template, and in the list template that's in the site template, etc. So let's go to piece project project completion target there. So oops, I forgot to add that when I first created the content type. Now it's in there. So now I can go to my like this Florida State one and go to my project info, and I can see that now project completion target is now in there. So it goes down to all the templates that are using it. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay, we only have like 1 or 2 minutes left. Did anybody that was watching that think that was cool? Any feedback? Any more questions? Did you learn something new? Did you know that you could do that with content types in conjunction with templates? So Kevin, what you were saying about templates and the publishing, with the publishing feature enabled, again, you could go create a subsite and not enable publishing features at the subsite level and create a template from it, and then have that be available in the site collection. So that would be a way of getting around not being able to have, like, if publishing is enabled at the top level site, we get around that. It's kind of a mess when you start disabling publishing and re-enabling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and the thing about the publishing, if you enable the site feature for the site scope feature for publishing, and then you'll notice that the save as template is gone. If you disable that, the save as template will still come back, but it does not clean up all the publishing pieces. So even if you've enabled it at all, your template will not be deployable. So remember that.
Yeah. So if you have anything having to do with publishing pages that needs to be part of your template, you're pretty hosed, pretty much. I don't really understand the why around that, but it's just always been the case. So, all right. Well, that was a nice little sort of on-the-fly demo, huh? Figured it out. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming. I'm not sure what we're doing next week, but I'll put Kevin on the spot. Maybe Kevin will do something. I think he's gonna be pretty busy. We got a giant project that just kicked off. So, and that's where Joelle is. She's on site with a customer, and she can't be here. We're all very busy. Okay, we'll see you guys next time. Have a good week.
See ya.